Welcome back. It's Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, and the websites by plebes or plebs. We're going to the numbers. Let's do it, people.
Number time. Sponsored by Bitcoin 2022.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 704,888. The Bitcoin price, 57,420. Chain rewrite days, 837. Total public Lightning capacity, 3,066.83 sats per dollar, or Moscow time, 1742. And the blocks to the halvening, 135,112. I just want to point out before it changes, 57,420. I have to point out 420. I mean, you have to, right? It's not significant, but it's 420, so why not?
It's a 420 is an interesting number.
But look, okay, 3,066. So now look at us, right? We're desperately trying to bring the 58K gang back to life, right? Dennis Sat's walking tall.
I feel like he cursed it, dude. He goddamn cursed it, dude.
It was too soon, right? It was too soon.
He cursed it.
We have hope, right? We have hope. So like we're there, but look at the public Lightning capacity, like you always like to say, right? Like 3,066. Like we're back at a new all-time high on that.
That is a new all-time high for the Lightning network capacity. Even though we only do the Lightning noise in 500 BTC increments, we'll get a mini Lightning noise.
We're making it unspecial again.
No, because it's a mini.
If you make too many noises, it's not special anymore.
It's a mini one, Phil. It's not a big one. It's a mini one. Anyways, guys, do you agree with Phil or do you agree with Nika?
Is he making it unspecial?
Am I making it unspecial for doing the Lightning stuff? Let us know down in the comments. Also, want to point out we are only 11% from the fiat to Bitcoin price. Only 11%. God damn, it's been a journey.
It's like forever, right?
These last 6 months, I feel like I've been to war and back. So
Doesn't this remind you? Yeah. Doesn't this remind you of the Castaway meme? You know, with Tom Hanks sitting there and he writes the days on the rock. You know, like, you ever see that one? And like, and it shows like days since all time high. It's like, that's exactly what this is like.
It's exactly what it's like. So many things have happened since then. Elon, China banning, like so many goddamn things. This is
ESG.
The ESG, the OFAC compliant block. Okay. When people say, okay, El Salvador, like, listen, when people say, like, it's so easy just to say, just buy and hold Bitcoin. But to actually do it, man, it's like war. It's emotionally taxing. It's psychologically, Bitcoin makes you pay the emotional price. Remember that. It doesn't spare you. It makes you pay for it. So yeah, man. But it's been a hell of a journey. Lots of cool stuff along the way. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Fail, sponsored by Pirate Hash. We got two fails again today. Both of them totally different. One of them shitcoin fail, which is the one we're going to dive into first, and then we've got some inflation fail. Anyways. So this is from Mykoshi, who tagged us in this, and he goes, people still using it with a clown? What is he talking about? Ethereum user pays $430,000 in transaction fees for a failed payment. That's right. We are going to dive into this one. So just remember, right, like not even 2 weeks ago, we had like a $23.7 million payment or something. Definitely the, what was this? This is the finance of the future. Wait,
another one? Another one?
Yeah, this is another one. But
another one?
Keep in mind, this is a failed transaction fee.
Oh, so they didn't even go through.
Didn't even go through for this crap. Okay.
Oh my god.
Didn't even go through.
There it is again. The food, the miso. Yo, shitcoiners, stop fucking around with miso soup. You're giving miso soup a bad name. All right, I'm sorry, Phil. Go ahead.
The good soup. Okay, let's dive into this. Just
delicious.
It is delicious. Just weeks after Diversify's slip up that saw it pay $23.7 million in a single transaction fee, which was luckily later returned by the miner, another large transaction fee has been spent by accident. And while the $424,000 is paltry compared with Diversify's fee, it's still another massive mistake. This is why we call it a circus. This is why it's not going to be like... This is not going to be the base layer of money, okay? You can't have this stuff happening as the base layer of money. Sorry, not sorry. It appears the person who spent the fees was trying to take part in a token sale of strips on the Miso Launchpad, which is SushiSwap's newly launched token sale platform.
I like sushi too. Leave it alone.
It's brutal. During the rapid sale, the participant attempted to use flashbots to gain an advantage. Flashbots is a communications protocol between Ethereum users and miners that lets them essentially bribe miners to get priority in newly mined blocks. Does that really sound like the base layer of money? Does that sound like censorship resistant, uncorruptible base layer money?
You know why this is happening?
That sounds like BS. Yeah.
You know why this is happening? Because human beings are still in control of the monetary policy.
Yep.
Exactly like the fiat system. And that is why you're seeing the corruption. You're seeing the corruption in the fiat system. You're seeing the corruption in the shitcoins. It's the same goddamn thing. What's that famous quote from Vitalik? Stop trading! Stop trading! When the DAO hacks happen, like, man... Listen, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and as long as there's human beings in control of the monetary policy, this is what happens. I'm sorry, Phil.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. Absolutely. So let's keep going with this. It appears something went wrong with the flashbots. Who would have thought? Flashbot transactions are supposed to be kept private until they're included in a block. But in this case, it looks like the transaction somehow found its way into the public mempool. As a result of the mishap, the transaction was processed by an Ethereum miner and included in a block. Since the token sale sold out too quickly, the transaction failed and the prospective buyer received 0 tokens. They still ended up paying the transaction fee, though, which amounted to 123 ETH. $430,000. But wait, there's more. That's right, because it... Check this out. The same Ethereum user also made a second transaction for the same token sale, also using flashbots. So apparently getting burned once on the stove wasn't enough. Apparently you had to go through this again. Presumably, having seen the eye-watering costs of the first one, however, they decided to cancel it. To do this, they had to submit another transaction to tell the network to cancel the first one, this transaction cost them 30 ETH. $105,000.
Wait, read the last part. Read the last part of the panel.
Like just this?
No, read the last sentence. The last sentence of the article. All in all, quite an expensive Wednesday.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just brutal. I mean, are you kidding me?
Was that dude? No way that was real. That's real?
Yeah, that's absolutely real. It's completely insane. And don't get me wrong, but people get, people get pulled into this crap left and right because they want to believe the tech narrative. Look, everybody wants to believe that they're going to buy the next Bitcoin for pennies, right? Everybody wants to believe that. It's just not how it works. I know. Believe me, I wanted to believe that. I know. Anyways.
Man, what... Okay, so let's just do a small recap, okay? Because we do this every single day. Rug pulls from the smart contracts that are not so smart. Then you have people overpaying fees by hundreds of millions of dollars, like $100 million. Then the developers accuse them or threaten them with the IRS, which is a centralized agency. And now you have a transaction that failed to transact, but it still cost them $103,000. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is the future of finance. What fucking morons. What morons, dude. What morons. And look, guys, like, I'll be honest with you. Tech is fascinating stuff, Okay,
Totally.
like the tech is like cool, like to experiment with that stuff, like like go right ahead.
Doesn't need to be money.
But it doesn't need to be money. Exactly right. You don't need to store your value in that shit. Like you could experiment. You could have fun. Like that that sounds like I personally wouldn't do it because it costs money, but like I understand like the tech aspect of it, but this isn't the mission. The mission is to separate the money from state. The mission is to free mankind from the tyranny of central banking. Do you think we'll be able to free mankind from the tyranny of central banking if the alternative is worse than central banking itself? Like, come on. Oh, my God. Anyways, Phil, what's the next Phil?
Oh, God. Okay, yeah. Moving on from the shitcoins. Here we go. Fed's Bostic finally admits it. Inflation is not transitory.
No way.
No way. Are you... They figured that out. You know what? They must have had a panel of experts.
Uh-huh.
Just think, we were able to figure that out without a panel of experts, Nico. But wait, hold on. We're going to dive into the whole thing. Here we go, okay? So this is on Zero Hedge. Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bostic finally broke away from the fake narrative bandwagon created by his Fed peers, the complicit media and Wall Street sycophants. When during a virtual speech at the Peterson Institute for International Economics, he said that price surges caused by supply chain disruptions or the reopening of the services sector are likely to last, i.e., they are not transitory and seem to be broadening to more parts of the economy. Getting worse. Wonder what they're going to blame next, right?
Dude,
I'm just like, well, what are they going to blame next?
It blows my mind that a couple of simple plebs with microphones and cameras and just putting this together, in our basements practically, right? Metaphorically speaking. Dude, we're more accurate than the mainstream media. We've been saying this was going to happen because of the amount of money that they're injecting into the system. What happens when you put basic supply and demand, right? If you put more and more and more and more stuff into something, it becomes less valuable, right? The less there is of something, it becomes more scarce. Therefore, the value goes up. It's not rocket science. And like all these people, the mainstream media is involved, the politicians are involved. Everyone's just lying. They're lying through their man. It's insane. It's insane that you have to go to independent content creators or like an outlet like Zero Hedge to get the actual signal of what's going on.
Yeah,
blows my mind.
Let's keep going because you'll see, man. It's pretty funny. There's some BS. It's becoming increasingly clear that the future of this episode that has animated price pressures, mainly the intense, widespread supply chain disruptions, will not be brief. Bostic says in prepared remarks during the virtual presentation, which have assured he will not be on any lists for internal promotion once Powell decides to call it quits. When transitory hyperinflation can no longer be contained. I'm sure they don't usually, they torch the truth bearers. So, yeah, he pretty much just made sure that his career doesn't go higher than it is. Anyways, Powell has stubbornly maintained the rise in inflation is transitory, with projections from the Fed's rate-setting meeting predicted an annual inflation rate of 4.2% by year's end, an increase from 3.4% in June, before cooling to 2.2% next year, in line with their goal range. I have to interject here that these numbers are completely fake. They omit a lot of things that people are actually using, and we've discussed this before, that the true inflation rate is significantly higher than this. And it's just not being calculated. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, it's at least 8%. And I think I'm being generous.
15,
if it's not 15%.
15
right?
to 20%. 15
exactly.
to 20%. Because if you look at the actual, like, you look at the increase in housing, you look at the increase in stocks, that's people trying to find a place to park their value, right? And then not to mention as well, right, conveniently, you know what's left off the CPI? Food and energy, which is, it's you kind of need those things to live. So anyways, man, they're just just lie after lie after lie after lie after lie. I'm sick of it, dude. I'm sick of it.
Yeah. Tell me what you're looking for and I'll produce the data for it. Right? Like that's what it is. I want the data to show this, they'll produce the data to show that. Anyways, Bostic, a voting member of the Fed's rate setting committee next year, disagreed with that sentiment. He said that the inflation risks are not starting to diminish and noted that evidence is mounting that price pressures have broadened beyond the handful of items most directly connected to supply chain issues or the reopening of the service sectors. Still, Bostic said he believes that many of the upward pricing trends caused by the pandemic will unwind by themselves, though he cautioned that supply chain disruptions could last longer than expected. If highly accommodative, I'm going to have to 3, 2, 1 it. 3, 2, 1. If highly accommodative monetary policy is meant to correct past inflation shortfalls, then we have accomplished that mission. Up to now, indicators do not suggest that long-run inflation expectations are dangerously untethered, but the episodic pressures could grind on long enough to unanchor expectations. Okay, look. What's really key here, okay, is this piece right here. You see, he said he believes that many of the upward pricing trends caused by the pandemic will unwind by themselves. Certainly, whatever has been caused by the pandemic will unwind itself. I don't disagree with that statement in any way. But what won't unwind itself is the constant money printing. That will not unwind itself. Okay? And that money printing, right? It requires a whole bunch of people, right? It requires everybody taking this money and using this money. So you need a whole bunch of people on the system for all different kinds of reasons, and you need all of this unemployment that we're seeing, believe it or not. It's absolutely awful. But think about it. People are opting to stay home over doing... I'm seeing it even in our sector, right? Like, everybody is seeing hiring problems. It's not like... So why are people staying home instead of working? Because they can. The government wants that. Think about it, right? That just creates loyal voters, right? To help kick the can down the road for many years to come. Anyways, right? We're not, like we always say, we're not red, we're not blue. It doesn't matter. We lean Bitcoin. And the point is that when you have somebody making a statement like that about the pandemic, they want you to think that this is transitory. So even though he said it's not, he's trying to end it with the pandemic stuff is gonna unwind. But make no mistake, this inflation is directly, one of the main causes is all of this money printing. So just prepare that even when this all unwinds, when the pandemic truly quote unquote does unwind, this doesn't stop.
No, and look, we've shown you guys the receipts many times, right? They tried to reverse, so essentially the way that the mechanism in which money is printed is essentially the Fed just buys the treasury bills, right? Mm-hmm. And then the Fed puts it on its liability sheet, and then it issues the fiat. Now, during the Trump administration, they actually tried to reverse that, right? And you know what happened? A repo market crisis. And then they had to reverse it again, and they had to, turn on the money printers once again. So, even after this pandemic ends, right, this idea that governments could stop printing at the rate that they're printing is wrong. They can't stop printing without the whole system imploding on itself. The stock market, everything, it will collapse upon itself. They need to keep printing, and it's like a druggie. It's like a heroin addict, right? Like, the first hit, right, feels really good, but then you keep chasing the dragon, right? Like, the more hits you take, the less and less effect that drug has for you. And in the case of the fiat monetary system, it's the less the more and more and more and trillions of dollars, right, that we've shown you visually how much money that is, it has less and less of effect. And these politicians sound like absolute crazy people. They're talking about printing $1 trillion coin. Like, this is clown world right now, man. This isn't going to end well. And who's
buying that coin?
Man,
is the Fed going to take that coin as payment?
I don't know, but I would go to like the wishing well and just like, oops.
What happened?
Does that count as $1 trillion wish? I don't know. Anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Meme Review, sponsored by
Citadel 21.
All right, everybody. The meme for today is brought to us by the Bitcoinator. And first of all, let's check out Alex Gladstein's tweet. And he's quoting from the movie The Matrix, right? And this is when Morpheus is telling Neo, listen, if you take the blue pill, you'll wake up tomorrow and you'll forget anything ever happened. If you take the red pill, I promise you nothing but the truth. And Bitcoinator made it into a meme, right? And here is, it looks red, but it's actually orange. And if you take the orange pill, freedom, time, peace, sovereign individual, love, truth. And if you take the blue pill, debt, fiat, socialism, war, lies, social credit system. Yep. Very, very deep meme, right? I like it. It's from one of my favorite movies. Awesome score by the Bitcoinator. The next meme is brought to us by Liberty Blitz. Bitcoin is an extinction level event for the parasitic class, and they know it. And this is coming from, we covered this yesterday, where CEO of JP Morgan Chase says Bitcoin is worthless and we are going to rely on government regulation. That sounds like socialism, dude. You know, like, we want the government to stop our competitors. But anyways, that doesn't work. Look what happened. Look what's happening in China. And here is Jamie Dimon. Dinosaurs and the Bitcoin meteor waiting to go down and... Anyways, Phil, for those memes, I'm going to give it a very simple yet useful score of red Sharpie.
I like that. Simple, yet effective. Anyways, two very powerful memes. Great symbolism. Yeah, screw Jamie Dimon. He is awful. Just totally... You know, if I was an ultra-loaded person that couldn't figure out Bitcoin, and I saw what it did, and Jamie Dimon's been having all those bad takes, and I had my money with him, I'd be pretty upset. Just saying. Anyways, I am going to give this it is the power plug for, I don't know, random devices that you can plug into the wall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know?
Like the USB.
It's got the little USB connector on the end, so you could just take any USB device, plug it in, use it for charging and stuff.
Those are super useful.
Always helpful,
Always helpful. And you could label it with the red Sharpie. You say, look, this is for that, Combine the scores. Combine the scores if you could. Anyways, guys, do you agree? Do you agree with our scores? Do you disagree? Do you have no idea what's going on? Please let us know down in the comments. And please join our Telegram group, because we need Bitcoin memes to review, because it's a Bitcoin meme review. Anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily News, sponsored by
Crypto Cloaks.
All right, everybody. Another simply Bitcoin we told you so moment. We told you because the incentives of Bitcoin, as soon as China banned Bitcoin mining, those Bitcoin miners were going to flee essentially to where they are treated best. And Texas, Kazakhstan, happen to be some of those countries, right? But check how interesting this is. Now, instead of China being the world, the country with the largest amount of hash rate, it has now become the United States of America. To read from the article, the U.S. replaces China as world's biggest Bitcoin miner. The U.S. has become the world's epicenter for Bitcoin mining after a crackdown in China effectively eliminated the practice in the formal cradle of the industry. At the end of August, America accounted for 35.4% of the global hash rate. Holy cow. And you know where the majority of them are at? They're in Texas. But check out this really interesting map from Cambridge Bitcoin Electricity Consumption Index, right? And it basically tells you what percentage of like, if you click on the country, what percentage of the hash rate comes from that. So if you click on the US, it's even higher now. 35% of the hash rate, of course, is on the estimation. We have Canada. Oh, Canada, Phil, 10% of the Bitcoin hash rate.
Yeah.
We got Mexico, 0.08. We got Venezuela. Now, here's something very interesting about Venezuela, guys. A lot of the hash rate, a lot of Bitcoin mining hash rate comes from Venezuela, but because it is essentially a failed state, you'll never know what's going on there. But anyways, Colombia, right next door, only 0.01%. Brazil, almost 0.5%. Interesting. Let's check out Russia, 11% for Russia. Let's check out Kazakhstan, 20%. Mongolia, 0.13%. And then we got Germany, almost 5%. And we got the Nordic countries, Norway, 0.5%. We got Sweden, 1%. And we got Ireland, interestingly, 5% as well. But that might be for tax regulations. Check out Malaysia, 5% of the hash rate coming from Malaysia. And last but not least, Iran, 3% of the hash rate coming from Iran. Moral of the story is Bitcoin is decentralized as hell, super crazy. And of course, because there is so much mining, business coming to the United States, politicians are going to start supporting it, and they're going to start fighting or standing up against the federal government and the state's money in order to protect their state's best interest, right? That's exactly what you're seeing. Check out this tweet from the orange-pilled senator, Cynthia Lummis. Most elected officials I talk to are eager to learn about Bitcoin and digital assets. Plebs especially, talk to them. Even if you aren't political, education is the first step. Plebs especially. Wow. Cynthia Lummis, we have to get you on Simply Bitcoin just for this tweet. Oh my God. Yeah. Anyways, but check out what Senator Ted Cruz had to say, and of course he is the senator of Texas, right? Let's check out what the article has to say. Senator Ted Cruz, Texas crypto-friendly representative, has again. No, doesn't say crypto-friendly representative. It says Bitcoin-friendly representative. Anyways, had to make a minor correction. Has suggested that the state start using natural gas to mine Bitcoin instead of letting it go to waste. Where did you guys hear this from? Who told you this? We told you this months ago. And it's not because we're smart. It's because the game theory of Bitcoin is playing out in real time, right? He made this suggestion while speaking during the Texas Blockchain Summit on October 8th. The state currently flares the natural gas obtained from extracting oil and gas. According to Senator Ted Cruz, tapping natural gas to mine Bitcoin presents an enormous opportunity. He disclosed that half of the natural gas flared in the U.S. is currently being burned in West Texas. Senator Cruz, that could all be Satoshis. That could all be Bitcoin. Senator Ted Cruz.
All the eco warriors.
It's a good thing. Bitcoin mining is a good thing. Senator Cruz further noted that the energy goes to waste, exactly what we've been telling you guys, because the state lacks transmission equipment to transfer natural gas to industries that can use it. It's exactly what we've been saying. Bitcoin uses stranded electricity. Why? Because that is the electricity that's the cheapest and therefore the most economical and therefore the most profitable to mine with, right? So Bitcoin doesn't use electricity that's in high demand. So this idea that Bitcoin is taking electricity away from city centers and all that, that's BS. Because that electricity that's in high demand would be too expensive for the Bitcoin miner. Bitcoin miners are buying cheap electricity, and the reason that it's cheap is because it was already going to waste. Anyways, Senator Cruz further noted that the energy goes to waste because the state lacks transmission equipment to transfer natural gas to industries that can use it. He proposed using an on-site generator to mine Bitcoin instead of having to transmit natural gas. By using natural gas to mine Bitcoin, Senator Cruz believes Texas will be killing two birds with one stone. He pointed out that such an endeavor would play a notable role in helping the environment. We told you this as well on Simply Bitcoin, seeing as using the gas is more eco-friendly than just, they call it flaring it, we call it venting it into the atmosphere. Again, so is it because we're very smart? Is it because we're geniuses? No, it's baked into the protocol. Bitcoin is going to consume all of the stranded energy around the world. Why? Because for the first time, that stranded energy has monetary value, right? And unfortunately for the eco warriors, right? Guys, join our side. It helps your cause. It makes the planet better.
It actually works. It actually makes the planet, like, contrary to the crap that a lot of them shill. Sorry, Nico.
No. Go ahead. I
just wanted to add that to your rant.
Instead of giving more money to bureaucrats in DC, here's an actual solution, right? An actual solution. That there's even a Bitcoin company that's using the methane that comes from cow farts. I'm being totally serious, and they're converting that methane into satoshis, right? So again, like instead of venting this harmful gas into the atmosphere, you turn it into satoshis. Everyone wins. The environmentalist wins, the planet wins, and the miners, the miners, the cow farmers, right? They could monetize something that had no value before Bitcoin. It's that simple. And anyways, I want to end it with a passage from Ted Cruz. He said, the beauty of Bitcoin mining is that if you can connect to the internet, you can use that energy and derive value from those renewables in a way that would be impossible otherwise, which is exactly what I just said. So
He's getting it.
Very, very interesting stuff. Texas has become a Bitcoin stronghold. I remember seeing that the mayor said that Texas is a Bitcoin state. Right, so I'm very, very optimistic about Texas becoming a Bitcoin stronghold. I'm very optimistic about Wyoming. Super good news. I'm glad that it's out. All of that hash rate is out of the Chinese Communist Party's hands. But there is a downside to this. But first, I want to get Phil's point. Okay,
my whole thing is about the essentially the eco warriors. Right, it's very interesting that we've done a lot of showing the receipts, and not just us, right? We see a lot of tweets that go back and forth from asshats like Eric Holthouse and stuff like that, and we present a lot of evidence, and it's very strange that they're so eco-friendly, but for some reason do not accept the massive strides that Bitcoin has enabled as a result of being able to use these flared emissions. So, and the fact that Bitcoin is using stranded energy, because the reality is, again, right, if it wasn't so cheap, you know what I mean? Like, if it had the demand, it wouldn't be so cheap. But it's so cheap because there is zero demand for it in those places. So now Bitcoin comes in, creates the demand. It also helps fuel the local economies as well. People don't seem to understand, the eco warriors, it just seems like they just want to complain for the sake of complaining. They want to complain about the environment, but they don't actually want the environment to get fixed. You know why? Without a cause, they have nothing. Don't get me wrong. In a hyper-Bitcoinized world, we're all totally freaking happy to stop having to cheer for it. We're all happy to just go on with our lives and use Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is the base of everything, and everybody's life is just better as a result. But these people, they constantly need a cause. They always need things to be broken. They always need that the environment needs to be saved.
Yeah, dude,
Sorry, that's really my point.
No, absolutely. And look, guys, like we're not climate change deniers. Like we're not.
No. There's
we're
climate
not,
change.
We're not denying that, that there's the planet's being heavily polluted and that there's too much, I don't know the specific CO2 into the atmosphere. But what we're advocating for is essentially Bitcoin provides a solution to make the planet into a better place. Unlike, again, these bureaucratic giant establishments that, I feel like they just pay themselves, they just pay themselves to do nothing, essentially. Like, what have they done, really?
They're creating the problem. Think about it. Think about it. All of these plastics, all of this production, all of these cheap products that we use. Think of all the pollution that they create, right? All the plastic that's in the ocean that we always hear about and all this stuff. Where does this come from? This is a byproduct of BRRRR. This is a byproduct of money printing.
Absolutely.
This is what we're living through.
So, dude, look, like Bitcoin actually provides an actual solution to help improve the health of our planet, right? And again, like, I hate this narrative that it's like Bitcoiners, they just want to destroy the world and whatever. Dude, everyone cares about the planet. We're not denying that. We're not denying climate change. We're not denying, that the globe is potentially warming a couple percent. I live in Miami, dude. Like, I'm right there. Like, I'm all about that. There's trash in the ocean. There's trash in the ocean. You see that. There's definitely environmental problems. But Bitcoin is a solution, a major solution to one of those environmental problems. That's all we're saying. But anyways, guys, I told you, and we try to do this on Simply Bitcoin a lot. We try to report you all the news from the different perspectives. 35% of the hash rate located in one country. Again, even though it's the United States of America, not so good. And the one that made me aware of this was Dieter Bob, right? Just ignore what he says about Dennis. We love Dennis. We like his YouTube show, right? But just focus on the signal that Aoi is talking about. Mm-hmm. As an American, you want as much hash in Eastern countries as possible. Losing the China hash was a huge blow to Bitcoiners living in the West. Why would he say something like that? Let me show you. Back in January, Marathon Miners, which is this huge publicly traded American mining company, guess what they did? They started censoring Bitcoin transactions. Mm-hmm. Marathon Miners have started censoring Bitcoin transactions, and here's what that means. And that was May 7th, 2021, before the Bitcoin conference. The community made such an uproar that they decided to reverse course. But anyways, to kind of give you guys some, to give you guys like a remembering of what happened, right? Because it was a long time ago, even though we did cover it. The Marathon OFAC pool, and I want you guys to remember that. OFAC stands for Office of Foreign Asset Control, which was first announced in late March, refrains from processing transactions from those listed on the U.S. Department of Treasury's specially designated nationals and blocked persons list to stay compliant with U.S. regulatory standards, according to the company, right? And who is the OFAC? The OFAC is, and here's from the government website themselves, the Office of Foreign Asset Controls of the U.S. Department of the Treasury administers and enforces economic and trade sanctions based on U.S. foreign policy and national security goals against targeted foreign countries and regimes, terrorists, international narcotic traffickers, those engaged in activities related to the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, and other threats to national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States. Now, here's the thing, okay? Here is the thing. They cut off Afghanistan from the banking system, right? Because the Taliban took over, right? And Taliban's a terrorist organization. That makes sense, right? But you know who else they cut off? The millions of other Afghanis that were living there. The United States did the same thing with my home country of Venezuela. They placed sanctions, right? So if you're Venezuelan and you move to the United States, you can't open a bank account. right? Because you're sanctioned. If with Cuba, same thing, sanctioned, right? North Korea, sanctioned. Mm-hmm. So the United States has weaponized the dollar, right? And the reason that the hash rate is so dangerous, again, like you could make the argument, it's like we don't want Iran to be part of the financial system. We don't want this person to be part of the financial system. But what you have to understand is that you're punishing a few elite people in that country, but you're also punishing the rest of the entire country that are just like me and you, and they just want to get about their daily lives, right? So, again, like, it's a touchy subject, right? But just like freedom of speech, right? Just the reason that the founding fathers made freedom of speech in the United States the way it is because they knew that the person that gets to dictate what speech is good and what speech is not is going to abuse it for their own personal gain. The U.S. has been doing this with the dollar. They've been using the dollar as a weapon. But anyways, what does this have to do with Texas? If 35% of the hash rate is in the United States, and as NGU technology keeps doing its thing, price keeps going up, the market cap keeps going up, it starts to become a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger threat to the fiat nations, to the nations that most benefit from the legacy financial system. I suspect that the OFAC is going to put a lot of pressure onto the publicly traded mining companies in the US, right? So again, like, everyone is celebrating, wow, we got a huge portion of the hash rate, 35% in the US. That's kind of a big number. We want that number lower, right? And again, before you freak out, it doesn't matter. It won't work. Why won't it work? Why cannot censor transactions? Okay, because let's say the Bitcoin pools in the U.S. They have to comply with the OFAC. There's always going to be that miner in Iran that's going to take that transaction. There's always going to be that miner in Venezuela that's going to take that transaction. So the best that they could really do is just slow it down. Right? That's all they're going to do. And you know what's also going to happen is that market forces are going to also come into play, and people are going to essentially be mining, paying more fees, right? So it's going to cost them, the American mining pools, even more money to censor transactions. And a funny thing that happened last time when they tried doing this, right? Because when you mine a block, you can't move it for a specific amount of blocks. When you mine a Bitcoin block and you get rewarded the subsidy, the block subsidy, you can't move it for a specific amount of blocks. And what was funny is that when they started doing this and Bitcoiners found out which blocks belong to Marathon, people just kept sending them Bitcoin transactions and putting in the OC return, like, regards from Iran, regards from Venezuela, right? So again, it's just something to keep an eye out. We like to take all perspectives on Simply Bitcoin because I know everyone on Twitter was just celebrating and saying, oh my God, this is amazing news. We like to give you all the signal. The pleb signal. Anyways, Phil.
Yeah, man, that's definitely, I always appreciate IE's takes. That's fantastic. And look, you know what? A lot of, like us, right? We were celebrating essentially what happened where, China decided to do their ban and those miners moved. But you're exactly right. We don't really want them to move here necessarily because of these things. So it's kind of better that they continue to spread all over the world. So look, I mean, to your point, they're just going to slow things down. And incentives are going to incentives are just going to simply take the lead and boom, you're going to pay more. Not to mention the fact that some of us will even put miners online because we know that they're doing this kind of stuff.
Yep.
So what they don't realize is some of us are willing to waste our energy and our money, okay, just to mine those transactions to piss these people off. Couldn't care less.
Not only that.
This system's been robbing everyone for hundreds of years.
We want freedom.
That's
we
right.
want freedom, and we're willing to die on this hill. Bitcoin or slavery. There is no middle ground. And if that means running S9s in all the plebs' houses, right? So be it. But you will not stop or censor or make the Bitcoin network into what the fiat system is today. But anyways, Phil, there was a open source software release today. Why don't you show everybody?
Software releases. All right, we've got Eclair version 0.6.2 that was released, and that is an implementation of Lightning, right? There's Eclair, there's LND, and there's Rust. Anyways, the links are down below in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, before we go, get your tickets to Bitcoin 2022. It's going to be the biggest Bitcoin conference ever. It's 4 days this year. Last day is music and networking. Meet the plebs and meet space. Get your tickets soon because the prices do go up, and take advantage of the 10% link down below. Get your 10% off the ticket. Go to Bitcoin 2022. Check out CryptoCloaks.com for the best Bitcoin 3D printed merch. Get yourself a Bitcoin grenade or a 3D printed honey badger. Super cool stuff. Take advantage of the link down below for 5% off anything on the store. CryptoCloaks.com. Check out Citadel 21 for the best Bitcoin cultural zine. It's pure pleb signal. It's stories written by plebs for plebs. Get yourself a physical copy. There's only 1,000 made per volume. Citadel21.com. And of course, Pirate Hash for some awesome Bitcoin trinkets like this board game, a Bitcoin source poster. It's by the guy that did the UI for BIS, piratehash.com. Guys, that was our show. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button so Phil could dance. And if you want to continue hearing the Bitcoin news from the pleb perspective and the catastrophic fails from so many people, there's just so many. Definitely consider subscribing, and we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for another episode of Simply Bitcoin.
Bitcoin's eating the world.